Hi, Alan here, rvacrossamerica.net, and this is best characterized as a day in the life video. The video can be, the web page that associates with this can be accessed at rvacrossamerica.net /Jackson Hot Spring, which gives away a little bit about where I'm headed. By the way, the video of my driving is shot at double speed. So if it looks like I'm going real fast, I'm not. But I did that so that my 20 minutes of video would compress to 10 minutes of video. I'm eastbound now on Montana 1 and about to turn onto 569 headed in towards Wisdom and the Big Hole. And when we climb up the mountain pass, you're going to notice some fresh snow on the ground, which came as a little bit of a surprise to me because it was already almost 10 o'clock in the morning and it's May 30th. You could see along the left-hand side that fresh snow. May 30th, fresh snow, and it was only about 37 degrees at about 10 a.m. as I'm climbing the pass to drop into the Big Hole. So, in my trip to the Big Hole, I was in search of some hot springs, breakfast, a bakery, and some pizza. I know it doesn't go with my diet, but every once in a while I go off the diet. And all of that, and not in that order, but all of that was available in Wisdom with the exception of the hot springs. I want you to notice how quiet this region is, how little traffic there is through it, how unpopulated it is, if you will. And as we proceed forward, as a traveler, that's a pretty nice accolade for a region to be in. So, something to think about if you're also an RV traveler. You might want to be looking at unpopulated regions for any number of reasons. I won't go into that right now, but I may at some future date. So again, this is recorded on May 30th. It was chilly outside. Like I say, it was in the upper 30s when I crossed the pass. We're now dropping down on the opposite side of 569 towards the Montana 43, which leads into Wisdom and eventually Jackson. You can see some leftover snow on the hills. And when we make the next turn, you'll see a lot of snow on the mountains that point towards Lost Trail ski area, which is pretty much where Montana and Idaho meet. And that's probably about 40 or 50 miles away from this point, even as the crow flies. So as I'm traveling, it stayed cold. When I got into Wisdom, which is coming up just in a couple of moments, it was only 39 degrees, and that was at 10:30 in the morning. And even at the middle of the day heat, if you will, down by Jackson Hot Springs, it was only in the low to mid 40s. As we travel on this stretch of Montana 43, notice there's a river to the left. That's the Big Hole River. The Big Hole River is also home to the Anaconda Sportsman's Lodge. There's no lodge that I saw, but it is riverfront RV camping on the left-hand side. I don't know if my video has any of that, but it's RV campsites that are along the river, and there's some trees in that area, and it's nice. It's a nice place. It looks like fairly primitive camping to me. It doesn't look like there's full hookups or anything like that. When we get into Wisdom, there is the Big Hole Campground. That is a full hookup area. I took a walk through it and there was nobody there. And this is, again, just before Memorial Day weekend. There's also the American Legion campground area in Wisdom, and I do drive through that. That is primitive camping. There's no hookups there. The Big Hole Campground is full hookups. And further on the journey is Jackson Hot Springs, and Jackson Hot Springs has full hookup camping right alongside the building. And understand that Jackson Hot Springs is a swimming pool. That's basically what it amounts to. But it's a nice hot springs. It's the right temperature. It's good consistency of water. It's not overly loaded with sulfur, so you don't smell the sulfur. I don't particularly mind it, but there are a number of people that do. And I find it to be a good place to go and just relax. That would be in contrast to Fairmont Hot Springs, which is great for being a local place that you can get a membership to here in Anaconda. It's only 10 miles outside of town, but the water is chlorinated, which I'm not particularly a fan of, especially for a hot spring. Also, of interesting note in Anaconda, there is a community pool, and their membership for the summer, which is really just from mid-June until mid-late August, is only about 35, $40, depending on whether you qualify for a senior rate or not. I think a senior is 55 years or over. So we're still driving down Montana 43. You see the mountains in the distance. Again, notice how quiet it is here. I mean, if there were six cars that passed me on my entire 55-mile stretch into Wisdom, and we're coming into Wisdom now, that's a lot. As you come into Wisdom, you'll see Fetty's on the right. That's a diner, restaurant. You'll see the bakery on the right. The pizza slash saloon is on the left. And the only other place in town to eat is a Mexican place, which you can't see. It's a couple of blocks further up. Obviously, I didn't shoot video while I just sat there. This is heading westbound out of town. We only go out of town for a couple hundred feet. When we cross the bridge, we're going to turn into the American Legion RV parking area. Just to give you an idea of what's there, the American Legion RV parking is free. The Big Hole RV Park, I believe, is $50 a night, but again, you get full hookups. I stayed at the Big Hole RV Park back in October, and they were at 30 a night at that point because they had discontinued their water. So we're turning into the American Legion site here. It's dispersed camping. There's no actual RV parking sites, and as you'll notice, there's almost nobody here. There's one truck camper with a car behind it, and that's about it. The building is there for people to warm up in, and that's kind of a nice facility. I think it also has electric there, so if you needed to recharge a phone or something, you could do that, or keep your laptop running. And yes, you do. No, you don't have any kind of real cell access here or Wi-Fi. The cell access, the only operating cell access is what escapes me at the moment. It's not Verizon, I can tell you that, and it's not AT&T. So it's definitely a secondary provider. There is Verizon down in Jackson, and Jackson is just a little bit up the road as we continue our way southbound. Again, you see um, snow-covered mountains. The snow line is probably at about 8,000 feet, which is probably a little bit below normal for this time of year. In other words, it should normally be a little bit higher, but we haven't had the melt that has occurred in past years because it's been a chilly, wet, and at times snowy spring. And I can tell you that since I'm recording this on June 7, it looks like winter is over. We've moved into a new pattern. We're in the 70s and nearly 80 each day. There will be some cooler days coming up, but I don't think we're going to get cold enough to snow. And I do think that the snow for now has ended. And while there's still snow, I'm looking for my camper up at the mountain range just off to the northwest, southwest of us. And it's got snow at about 9,000 feet. That is gradually melting and retreating as we head into full-blown summer. Again, by the way, this post can be found at rvcrossamerica.net/Jackson Hot Spring, singular, Jackson Hot Spring. And you'll see some photos on the post that supplement where I went, so you can kind of get an idea of the places you can visit on this 55-mile one-way trip. So it was about 110 miles round trip out of Anaconda. Again, real nice for a day trip. The Big Hole is so named, by the way, because it's a large, high, flat plain. Don't really want to call it a high desert. It's normally not this green. This green is thanks to the amount of moisture we've had this spring, but it's at about 6,000 feet. So I'd call it an alpine or subalpine area, surrounded by mountains off to the southwest as you're looking right now, which would separate Montana from Idaho, mountains off to the west, which are in Montana, and mountains to the north, which separate this area from Anaconda. This is Jackson, Montana. It's really not much of a town. There's an auto parts place off to the right. There's the Jackson Hot Spring to the left, which, as you can see, is just a lodge with some sleeping accommodations. And I spent some time there, and now we've turned around. We're headed northbound, and instead of doing my 70 to 80 miles an hour along this stretch, we were down to about 5. as there were ranchers moving cattle, moving cows southbound. You'll see one of them on a horse. There were about 4 or 5 of them directing the activities, and all we could do was pretty much sit there, myself in the truck who was temporarily in front of me, very temporarily, until we got moving. And there we are headed northbound. Anyway, Alan here, rvcrossamerica.net/Jackson Hot Spring. You have a great day, morning, evening, whenever you see this. And hey, go to the site, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, leave a comment. I read them all. I respond to them all. Help spread the word on the website. Thank you.